Let's get into the second question I have for you, which is, what's your guilty pleasure TV?
So before I answer that, I want to give a shout out to somebody I really admire named Shannon Washington, because Shannon shared her interview. So Shannon is like a badass. So Shannon Washington essentially is RGA. She's like the chief creative officer of RGA.
Gotcha.
And she recently like kind of like did an interview when she was at Cannes. And I'll put up really quickly because I really want to share this before I mention my thing. And what she wrote was like, quote unquote, what do you actually do in the evening? Watch Real Housewives. And the question right before that was, what do you want people to think you do in the evening? And it's dream about creativity. And I think what I loved about that response is not only is she really truthful and really real about this stuff, but she's not sugarcoating, what happens. And that's why I like this question about guilty pleasures, because there's always like this, I think, like perception that like creatives always have to be creating, creatives always have to be like trying to be different than everybody else, like all that kind of like problematic thinking that's like very stressful and difficult. So big shout out to Shannon for just being real. And if y'all want to see the interview, maybe we can link it in the notes or something. I don't really know.
Sure.
But go follow her on LinkedIn. She's super dope. I feel like my guilty pleasure show right now is I'm actually not even guilty of it, but I'm guilty of the season, I would say. Okay. So I'm watching Money Heist right now.
Okay.
And it's all in Spanish. It is awesome. The first 2 seasons were so good. And now I'm on like season 3 or 4. I think season 4 or 5 or something. It's like not as great.
Gotcha.
I'm not necessarily guilty about it.
That's on Netflix. Is that on Netflix?
I'll give you a real answer. That's on Netflix, yeah.
Okay.
But I'll give you a real answer. Literally right after I like went running earlier today, I like put on YouTube, I put on like the Jersey Shore like fan favorite highlights of all time or whatever, and I just threw that on the background while I was like making myself like warming up some Ethiopian food.
Love that.
So I would like that's the vibe, I think. Yes. Is like I'm a YouTube like premium subscriber, which is like it's getting expensive now. It's like gonna be like $20 a month or something like that, like $18.99 or whatever. But I love it because it combines. I'm able to get music and I'm able to get like no ads on all of my stuff, and I'm watching YouTube all the time. Like if we want to talk about YouTube, I'm super down. But like, I just threw up like a Jersey Shore highlights thing, and I had a blast just listening to it in the back of my mind. Because the way my mind works is I have 50,000 things going on in my head at any given time.
Yep.
And so I need to write stuff down, and I also need to have stuff in my calendar. And number 3 is I have to have something on the background. And the thing that I have on the background has to be something that I've already listened to or already have watched. I can't listen or watch like anything that I haven't before, because it'll be really distracting to me, and I'll switch on to that rather than doing like work. So I typically like put on like shows that I've watched in the past, or I'll put on like I'll repeat episodes of podcasts that I've listened to in the past. Like there's like multiple things that I've listened to, like, and I've cooked like through like bajillion times. So that's the way my mind works, and I feel like a lot of people who also have ADHD. I have ADHD. I got diagnosed last year. We need stuff like this to help us like be productive. So yeah, that would be my guilty pleasure thing is watching like reruns of like Jersey Shore or like other like reality TV shows or like other shows that like I've seen in the past. Like I think there's, I would say I'm even guiltier. Like, so there's one thing to be guilty about watching new episodes of stuff, but I'm on another level where I'm watching highlights
Yeah.
of stuff that like is a guilty pleasure. So it's like another. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like on another level of
Yeah.
guilt.
That's funny because I do the same thing. I love YouTube, and I love YouTube for that fact. You can go and find like just random stuff. I'll re-listen to podcasts that I've heard a million times. Naruto's like one of those that I can go back to, and I'll just put Naruto episodes on while I'm watching or working. But one that I'm like this isn't a TV show, but like one that I'm super guilty of is like I'll re-listen to old comedy specials. So like Hannibal Buress's first comedy special is hilarious, and I'll just play that over and over again. And my wife's like, "You're listening to that again?" And I'm like, "It's enough. Like it works. It works for my mind where I don't check in too much." So
yeah, and one of the episodes that I really enjoy, specifically on podcasts, is by Radiolab. There's an episode called Debatable, and the episode dropped like a few years ago now. And it talks about one of my biggest passions, or at least one of my biggest passions when I was in high school, because I started my speech and debate team, and it's about speech and debate, and it's about this queer black man who wins the national debate tournament against all these like quote unquote prestigious schools, Harvard, Yale, Northwestern, et cetera, by essentially arguing that the form of debate is not inclusive, and the way he like builds his argument is so fascinating, is so interesting, and so empowering that if anybody is interested in debate or like thinking about how debate even is debated, definitely check that out. If you're like, I've never in my life have wanted to debate like competitively, also check it out, because like this is like an episode that like gets people like really interested and excited about what debate could look like. Anyways, that's an episode I really love. Again, Radiolab, Debatable, highly recommend it.